Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. Our show is a production of our nonprofit organization, the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation, and its affiliated political committee, the Campaign for the Restoration and Regulation of Hemp, or CRRH. We have a great show for you tonight. Madeline Martinez is here as a guest, and Tim Pate is here to provide musical accompaniment. We'll have some film clips. We'll be taking viewer phone calls. We have some hemp news. So stay tuned for another exciting show as we bring on our infamous Dancing Cannabis Leaves. Okay, our first story tonight is from New Hampshire. New Hampshire joins New Jersey in that one of their houses has now passed a medical marijuana bill. From Manchester, New Hampshire, members of the New Hampshire House of Representatives voted Wednesday 234 to 138 in favor of New Hampshire's House Bill 648, which seeks to authorize the physician-supervised use of cannabis. The vote marked the first time that either chamber of the New Hampshire legislature had voted in favor of the medicinal use of cannabis. In 2007, the New Hampshire House members narrowly defeated a similar bill by a vote of 186 to 177. Under the new measure, qualified patients would not be subject to arrest, prosecution, or penalty, or denied any right or privilege for the medical use of marijuana. The bill now goes before the New Hampshire State Senate. If enacted, New Hampshire would become the 14th state to allow for the state-authorized use of medical marijuana. According to a Mason-Dixon research, and terminally ill patients to use and grow medical marijuana for personal use if their doctors recommend it. End quote. Additional information about this bill is available at www.nhcompassion.org. That's nhcompassion.org. Our next story is from Massachusetts, where lawmakers are considering a measure to tax and regulate the cannabis industry. From Boston, Massachusetts, the House and Senate of Massachusetts bills are seeking to tax and regulate the cannabis industry. They've been introduced in the Massachusetts legislature. House Bill 2929 and Massachusetts Senate Companion Bill S-1801 propose to legally regulate the commercial production and distribution.
You must be having some sort of a sound problem. I'll try this
with two microphones. Now back to the bill. Massachusetts Bill 2929 and Senate Companion Bill S-1801 propose to legally regulate the commercial production and distribution of marijuana for adults over 21 years of age. The bills would impose licensing requirements and excise taxes on the retail sale of cannabis. Adults who possess or grow marijuana for personal use or who engage in the nonprofit transfer of cannabis would not be subject to taxation under the law. According to longtime attorney and activist Richard Evans, who assisted in drafting this proposal, quote, decades of whispered grumblings about the wisdom and efficacy of prohibition are rapidly giving way to a new really serious public discussion about how to replace it. Those who consider themselves leaders in government and the media have the obligation to either show how prohibition can be made to work or join in the exploration of alternatives, end quote. Massachusetts is the second state to consider marijuana regulation legislation this year. In February, California Assemblyman Tom Amiano of San Francisco introduced Assembly Bill 390 in California, the Marijuana Control, Regulation, and Education Act. That bill is currently before the California Assembly Committee on Public Safety. Additional information and summaries of H2929 and Massachusetts S1801 are available online at http://cantaxreg.com. That's CANTAXREG.com. For more information, you can also visit this other website, masscan, with two N's, masscan.org. Our last story tonight is about new information on marijuana treatment. The U.S. government admits that nearly 4 in 10 people admitted to treatment for marijuana haven't used marijuana in the previous month. From Rockville, Maryland, nearly 4 in 10 individuals admitted to substance abuse treatment programs for cannabis have not used the drug in the month prior to their admission, according to data provided by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. According to federal figures, over 37% of the estimated 288,000 people who entered drug treatment for cannabis in 2007 had not reported using it in the 30 days previous to their admission. Another 16% of those admitted said that they'd used marijuana 3 times or fewer in the month prior to their admission. These statistics make it clear that it is not marijuana use per se that is driving these treatment admission rates. It is marijuana prohibition that's primarily responsible. These people, for the most part, are not addicts in any true sense of the word. Rather, they're ordinary Americans who have experienced the misfortune of being arrested for marijuana and who are forced to choose between rehabilitation or jail. According to state and national statistics, between 60 and 70% of individuals enrolled in substance abuse treatment for cannabis are referred there by the criminal justice system. By contrast, fewer than 15% of marijuana treatment admissions are voluntary. So the treatment of people for marijuana addiction is solely driven by the criminal justice process and isn't a factor of patients actually seeking that. Well, that's the end of our hemp news segment tonight. We're going to jump over to Mr. Tim Pate. How are you doing, Tim?
I am well, Paul. How are you this week?
I'm doing pretty darn well.
Good, good. Now, you did some traveling this week, didn't you?
I did just a little bit. I had a family break and
good for
got
you.
to take kids down to Grandma's house in Southern California. And
Good.
had to keep working on the phone, though. CEO's job is never done.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, but at least you got away. You got your kids to get away too.
Got to spend a little bit of family time.
That's spring break, and that my yard, all the daffodils are trumpeting all over the place, and the crocuses are out, and
spring has sprung.
I know the tulips are popping, and spring has sprung. So anyway, it's time to get the thoughts about planting again. So as usual, enjoy the pretty pictures. Thank you.
Trick how you fade it out there.
Yeah, that's the whole idea. Sometimes you got to fade rather than just stop.
That makes sense.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Nicely done.
Hey, welcome back, Madeline. How are you this week?
Hey, Paul, I'm doing good. I'm doing really well, monitoring the legislature as always. Didn't have to go down to Salem this week, but I was really glad to hear that actually 2881, one of the bills that it started out as 2503 and it morphed into 2881 after Buckley and Carolyn Tomei and some other representatives got a hold of it. And it was supposed to be something that would protect our rights. It got a little scary because they added a medical review officer. And thank goodness Senator Przonski went in there and added an amendment that the medical review officer and the employee being tested could not be employed. The medical review officer, rather, could not be employed by the testing employer. So I hope everybody understood that. You can call if you have any questions.
Which would create a conflict of interest.
In my opinion, yes. And I said that to the ACLU, and they went ahead and went and spoke to the representatives, and then Przonski came forward with this. Well, when I called him, he said Przonski.
Really?
That's the way it says it on his machine, so I thought I would be gracious.
I'll ask him next time.
Yeah, please do.
It's been a while.
It's interesting, but he said, this is Senator Floyd Przonski.
Okay.
I said, okay, Mr. Przonski.
No, he's from Texas.
Yes. Yeah.
Now he's been a prosecutor down there in Lane County for about 20 years. He's on the board of directors for the Oregon Country Fair, too.
That's where I knew him. I knew him at the Oregon Country Fair, and I knew Floyd for many years through the Oregon Country Fair. He's a very good man.
As a petitioner to legalize marijuana, he chased me out off there a couple times. Petition, but oh well.
Yeah, he asked us as normal not to get involved in the hemp bill, and I thought, wow, if we would have got involved, maybe it would have passed, But he asked us to keep our name away because he doesn't want to get drugs mixed up with hemp, even though
he doesn't understand.
Exactly.
He's kind of
so
in the
I
dark.
Just don't want to upset
He believes
him.
their own propaganda. That's the thing. The vote hemp people.
Sad.
They think that it has to be low THC hemp to be hemp. Well,
yeah.
The only way they have low THC hemp is they breed out the flowers, and when they breed out the flowers, they breed out the seeds, and when they breed out the seeds, you don't get the oil and protein you would get otherwise. But
well, I learned that good lesson from you, so I spouted everywhere I go.
Good.
We went and met up with the Grange, though. The Grange was there, and we were saying they were actually in Salem having, what a coincidence, They're having a little gathering downstairs, and so Melody Silverwolf and myself, we went in there and we said, hey, how do you feel about hemp?
How'd they respond?
Well, they said they had some concerns about it, and I said, but right now our economy is suffering, our environment is, just our planet's being raped. Let's take care of this and get our farmers back to work. Yeah. And that should be their main focus, I think.
Yeah.
And saving our environment and come on, what else could we do? What's better than hemp? We all know the history of it.
What was the response?
Well, the response was we could take it before our local Grange, which we would have to go to Multnomah County Grange or something like that, and talk to them, and then have them introduce it to the big Grange. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. We're going to be there, and we're going to keep on pushing it every chance we get. And I encourage everybody out there to get a hold of their local Grange and ask them how they feel about it, because we have to, today the big discussion on all of the cable networks, I watch mostly CNBC, is about legalization.
I understand, what is it, on CNN, Larry King's debating it tonight.
Exactly. Actually, you can go to LarryKing.com, CNN.com/Larry King, and you can vote on whether we should legalize marijuana. That's up there right now. I just voted, and guess what? We were winning 60% to 38%. So
that should
dominate the internet.
We are dominating everything. We're dominating the conversation. President Obama held a town hall meeting yesterday, and one of the top questions was, should we legalize marijuana to help get out of this our economic crisis? And his answer was, I don't know what's going on with what these online voters are doing, or people online are doing, but I don't think it's a good strategy to help us out of this economic crisis right now. So he's saying
doesn't really understand again about the potential of hemp for biodiesel, hemp for fabric.
But I think he gave himself some wiggle room for futuristically, because he did stipulate, and right now I don't think it's the best strategy to use. But he does have a lot on his plate. Come on. We've got
That's
two
true.
wars. We've got our economic crisis. We've got everything.
The whole meltdown
Oh,
from the Bush and previous
I call
administrations.
it the Bush recession. I think
like
we
that.
owe it to him to call it the Bush recession, since he destroyed our world economy, basically.
And our reputation in the world. That's another story.
Yes.
Hey, if you're out there and you have a question for us, you can call us tonight at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. And we do have a caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hey, Paul, it's Mike Mogliotti.
How are you?
Are you there?
Yes, we are here. Are you there?
Yes. Hey, I used to be a patient up in Oregon. I moved to Arizona back in 2005, and I was actually in town over the weekend, and Monday and Tuesday I actually tried to stop by the clinic to see you, and found out you were in California. But I was just hoping to get together with you. Hopefully in the next couple of months I'm going to be coming back up there to set up a business meeting to advertise my website that I've started here in Arizona.
And what is your website?
It's called mogsdogs.com.
Uh-huh.
And it's, I've been trying to reach your web designer to kind of help improve my website, and I didn't know if you could help expedite the process and kind of...
Hey, it's a lot of work to do those websites. It's time-consuming, you know that.
I'd rather give my money to, I know where it could go to a good cause, you know what I mean?
Sure.
I don't want to just give it to somebody here in Arizona that I don't even know, and I respect you guys and the work you're doing. And
in from Arizona right now?
yeah.
So did you know the time, or you're watching us on the internet?
No, I'm actually out in the garage because I got parrots and kids and there'd be too much background noise.
I can relate with that.
Not able to be where my computer is, but...
Okay, well, I hope we can meet up next time you come to town. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, I'll just call the clinic next time and kind of give you like a week's notice of when I'll be in town. And
Okay, sounds
I'd
good.
like to get together and see what I can do to kind of donate some money to help the cause, too.
All right, well, thanks for calling.
Thanks for calling.
All right, Paul?
All right, have a good night. If you're out there and you have a question or comment for us, you can call us at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. And so Obama was laughing
Yeah,
about the
well,
economic.
there were some great comments all over the blogs everywhere saying, Obama was laughing, but the joke's on him. Because realistically, it was one of the highest rated questions. I think it was number 3 on the list of what we should do. Everybody wanted, of course, national health care, or what is it called? Universal health care for everyone.
Single payers.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm trying to think of what number 2 is, but right off the top of my head, what can I say? Can't remember everything, but it was number 3 on the list, and it really made a big impression. So they had to address the question, and that was really exciting to see it on CNN. It's all the talk on all the cable shows. I mean, it's actually become mainstream now to ask the questions. All these reporters, it's in the Rolling Stone magazine for this month. There's a really good article in there about how the drug war is a dismal failure and how it could really help our economy. And I ask everybody out there to please get online, make a phone call, send a message to somebody, and let them know. You can even call President Obama, and they will actually take your message down and mark it up as, hey, we've heard from 3 million people. This is really
The
important.
more people who call about marijuana, the more attention they're going to pay to it. There's no doubt.
Exactly.
It's true.
There's talk about taxing and regulating cannabis, and obviously that's one source of revenue, but that in and of itself, like Obama said, isn't going to resolve the economic crisis. It will help, there's no doubt, and that's going to lower the criminal justice costs. And let the
Exactly.
police focus on real crimes instead of coming and arresting people like us, law-abiding citizens who prefer marijuana to alcohol.
And waste
But
of time on trials.
there's other options, and all the trials. We did have a trial, and
Yes.
we talked about last week how I and one of our doctors, Dr. Orvald, had gone and testified in the Bruce Olson trial. And on Tuesday, the jury came back and acquitted him after less than 2 hours of deliberation on both counts. So
Yay.
Bruce Olson is now a free man, and
Yay.
they're more focused on that county up there, Kitsap County. A lot of people up there call it Kidnap County. And so far, they just pressured patients into taking these plea bargain offers by saying if you go to trial, if you don't plead guilty to what we'll throw incredibly long jail sentences and more charges at you, and that just scared other people to death.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they
Scared them
with
into
30 months
pleading
in
when they were
prison.
innocent.
Yeah, these are innocent medical marijuana patients, and I know of at least 30 of them there in Kitsap County who pled guilty even though they were legal because they just were afraid they were going to get 30 months in prison. And so they...
Well, at least we got one that's off now.
It takes a lot of guts and a lot of gumption and courage to stand up to the system and go to trial. And I just want to say thank you, Bruce Olson, for standing up for your rights and for putting an example up there on how we have to stand up to defeat these people who don't have any morals, who will just charge us even though we're trying to abide by the law and changing the law to, so we can abide by it.
Well, and these people are heroes. When you go out there and you stand up for your rights, that is really important. That's what heroes are made. I mean, that's what heroes are. People who went even in the face of this kind of terrorism, because that's what it is, for them to come to your home and terrorize you when you're following the law, when you're jumping through the hoops that are out there for you to jump through. They want to set the hoops on fire and then terrorize your lives.
And these are seriously ill people. These are not your standard healthy citizens out there. These are people with serious debilitating conditions who are being wrongfully prosecuted.
I'd like to commend the jury in that case, because the first time the jury was thrown out because of an incident that happened in the courtroom. And so I'd like to commend that next jury that came in, because apparently they listened to the facts of the case and said, you're crazy, state, and, threw it out.
Right.
I'm glad to see that.
There's another case they discovered up there about a quadriplegic man. Quadriplegia means you can't control your body from your neck down. He can't move his hands, can't move. He's being prosecuted for a medical marijuana case. So
that's a worthy case.
You got to follow that one. Glenn Musgrove up there in Kitsap County.
Sounds dangerous. Sounds like a dangerous criminal.
We have another phone caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Yeah, Paul. Thank you for taking my call. I want to thank you for clearing something up in my own mind with a comment you made about getting the marijuana plant to produce, or getting the hemp plant to produce oil. Well, you can't breed out the seeds and the flowers and all that stuff, because that's where the oil comes from.
Right.
So that clears that up, which brings up a question in my mind. I would wonder what you would think about a staged approach to legalization, where stage one would be removing hemp or marijuana from a Schedule 1 drug, first of all, and then secondly, allowing the industrial growth of hemp as a fiber plant. Go ahead and grow the seedless, flowerless plants for biomass and fiber. And then gradually legalize the full-blown, seeded oil, food product, medicine, to introduce the legalization in stages. First of all, being
obviously
removing.
We have medical now, so at least in 13 states currently, we have medical. So, I'm in favor of whatever works. I'm in favor of incremental steps, if that's what we've got to take. I'm in favor of, if possible, just breaking down the whole Berlin Wall of prohibition and replacing it with a taxed and regulated market. But if we have to bring industrial hemp out first, I'm in favor of that. In fact, maybe you don't know, I used to sell hemp paper and hemp fabric, and if you go to the book out there by a guy named Rowan called The Great Book of Hemp, he says my companies here in Portland were the first companies to import hemp in several generations back in the early 90s.
I would like to see somebody send President Obama a copy of Emperor of Hemp and let him watch that from beginning to end. And then finally, and I'll hang up with this, I did monitor some of the news reports about what the president said about the online poll, and I was disappointed at their treatment of it, equating legalization of marijuana with subsequent legalization of cocaine and methamphetamines, and they jump all up and down on the bandwagon, and I was disappointed in the corporate media's treatment of the issue. But anyway, thank you again for taking my call, and thank you for your program.
You're welcome. There's a book that came out several years ago The first was called How to Hold Your Own in a Drug Legalization Debate, and that came out in the late 80s, put out by the Drug Enforcement Administration. And they were saying that's one of the tactics, is to bring up, okay, if you're going to legalize marijuana, where do you stop? Cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin. We're just talking about marijuana here. I think other drugs shouldn't be treated as criminal acts. They should be treated as a medical health issue. And criminalizing substance abuse is in no way helpful for the addict or for the user or for society at all. We see what happened to alcohol prohibition and the fighting in the streets that accompanied that, and we can see current breakdown in the civil system in Mexico, where it's up near the U.S. border, largely a lawless area today. It's a scary place to visit right now. But I think that even for fiber hemp, legalizing fiber hemp right now, the low THC strains produce less than half of the fiber hemp that the fiber that the higher THC hemp strains produce. So as long as marijuana is illegal, it's going to impose an economic burden on the production of industrial hemp. So industrial hemp products are going to be much more expensive. They're not going to be as available as they would until marijuana is taxed and regulated. However, I think having hemp legal, like it is in Canada and Europe, is a lot better than not having it legal. At least we can get some hemp products.
Sometimes, as the gentleman said, that going in stages, sometimes you have to take small bites of the apple. I know a long time ago when Mendocino County did their county initiative, I thought about doing it in Multnomah, where it would make it the lowest priority. But basically in Oregon, it is the lowest priority in many cases. It doesn't feel like it when people get shot and killed because they're growing plants or because they have marijuana in the middle of the night when law enforcement comes, and that's a real big concern. But as I keep on saying, at least they admitted that no one should die for cannabis, and that was a huge statement for the Sheriff's Department.
Yeah.
It was sad and tragic, and it can't bring back that life. But I do think it's important, because if we can take little bites of the apple, let's do it.
I agree.
I just wanted to let everybody know that tomorrow's the Oregon Normal Cardholder meeting at the Village Ballroom at 700 Northeast Deacom. And the zip code there, and that's important, zip code is 97211, and the doors open at 11 a.m.
And that's for medical card holders only?
It is. It's for card holders that are registered with the Oregon Medical Marijuana Program. And we do, of course, honor card holders that are caregivers or growers, because they come many times to pick up cuttings and medicine for their patients, rather. And we try to give away as many clean cuttings. We try not to bring stuff with mites on it, but we always let everybody know that they need to treat that cutting and not take it into their grow room right away. Isolate it for a while. And we've got some books and some other grow tips that we're going to be giving out, thanks to the medicine man over here, Andrew, for giving us those tips. And Anna's got them all printed out and ready to go. Oh, and I'd like to encourage, somebody mentioned rescheduling marijuana, and there is a bill at our legislature, which is Senate Bill 285, that would actually get marijuana in the state of Oregon off the Schedule 1 list and onto the Schedule 2 list. So if you want to come out and find out more about that at the Oregon Normal meeting tomorrow, we'll be signing postcards to get the word.
What's that bill number?
It's Senate Bill 285.
That sounds like a great one to support.
Well, it is. It's real small, real short language. I'll bring you a copy tomorrow, and we'll be talking about it at our meeting. And that's what we encourage. It's OMMP 101, and if we don't defend our rights, who's going to defend them? If not you, who? Come on, folks.
So true. Now, there's 150 million bills put forth this year. 30 or more bills in the state legislature.
Well, actually, when I talked to Don Bischoff, who is Senator Morissette, a champion of ours, his legislative aide, Don said to me at his last count there were 14 bills that actually affected medical marijuana and the program.
So there's that
4 from law enforcement, one that seeks to repeal it, and some that seek to have, as you know, inspections and various things. But we were really successful. A lot of people showed up at the last hearing on 2881, and we dominated the room completely. I don't know if you saw the articles. We were in the Portland Observer, in Oregonian as well, quoted in there. Melody Silver was Wolf was in a Associated Press article. So we were out there, and we were kicking butt and taking names.
Good work. Good
Yeah.
work.
Excellent.
Guess we have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Really, I am, huh?
Yes,
Thank
you really are.
All right, thank you, Paul, and I appreciate everything that you guys are doing here. I'm from Arizona. I almost grew up there. We were there since about 58, and 10 years later, in 68, I discovered hemp, and it's been a marriage. You know, it's terrible to be married for 37 years and have an affair with something, but at least it's marijuana, and my wife understands. That's the whole thing.
For that.
It's incredible because in Arizona you're so persecuted. They caught me for 3 joints. They caught me twice. Both times I had to quit. It takes 12 weeks to get the THC out of your urine. Ask any fat guy.
Yeah.
You know, and it's something that we shouldn't have to go through.
So
Why do I have to hide in a closet? Because I prefer smoking hemp. And here you guys are with a forum where people can come right on and admit that and say, I prefer that to going to a bar and getting stupid and trying to drive home. And it's an old argument, but I can't.
It's one that needs to be put out there, though. You know, marijuana is a lot safer than alcohol, and a lot of us don't want to have the bad alcohol experience, or we've tasted it and don't want to go back there. And I was asked in a trial in this Bruce Olson case. The lady asked me if I grew. What? No, the question was, why did you grow marijuana before you had a medical permit? My answer was because I like marijuana. So that's the fact, Jack.
That's it.
Bottom line, we enjoy it rather than having to rely on some processed chemical. And what does that do for people? Why can't they get it through their heads what alcohol does to your intestines and the rest of your organs?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible that they can't receive. They rely on the hype from 1932 with this Anslinger guy that got Congress to make this an amendment to our national Constitution, and that's why it's such an uphill battle. It's a constitutional amendment, and that's what's wrong. That is what's wrong. First, they tell us you're Americans, you have rights to be here, and you have your freedom of speech and this and that. Well, why can't I enjoy marijuana? Why do I have to hide?
So let me ask you a question. You're not in Arizona now? Are you in Oregon?
Oh, I'll never go back to Arizona. My wife's a teacher at Apollo.
We just got a call from Arizona just before. That's why I'm saying, are we getting all these calls from Arizona today?
No, I'm up here. That's what prompted.
Well, welcome home.
Thank you. Thank you. I am home. We belong here. Everything that's happened has validated us coming here.
Yeah.
And it's all about karma and about how you treat people and the way people even drive here. I love Oregon. I'm never going back to that state of persecution down there. And thank you so much for letting me finally say that and get it out there. You know, I love you guys.
Right. Well, thanks for coming. And, you know, we have a studio audience. Hi, studio audience.
Hey, give us a holler.
So you're welcome to come down any Friday night. We're not going to be here next Friday night, though, right? We're off next Friday night.
That's
They've
correct.
got the studio lined up for some other brouhaha.
Okay.
And so
It's a big celebration, appreciation for all the volunteers here at Public Access.
Oh, is that what it
That's
is?
what's
well, that's
going
a good
on.
thing.
Yeah, so there's a big party for everybody.
Big, celebration.
Yep.
And so our show will be preempted next week, but I think we'll be running a video next week, and we'll be back live the following week, which I believe is April 10th.
I think that's it, April. Well, I fully intend, my daughter and I both, you know, this is a family affair. My children, all 4 of them, have dealt with the DARE program in Arizona. For years we dealt with that business of them coming home, and they've been raised around it. I had my hornball going back in the 70s.
Well, you know, fortunately, they've ended most of those DARE programs. They've come up with some other things, but they've shown that DARE graduates are more likely to use drugs than people who never took DARE at all. So.
Yeah,
It found out that DARE has the opposite of its intended effects. It kind of builds up curiosity about controlled substances rather than...
It dares people to think for themselves.
Maybe that's it.
That's what it
I know
does.
you. That's wonderful. Thank you, too. And just before I get out of here, I know you got other people who want to come in here and talk, but I love the music, too. I can't wait to get down there and meet you guys and say hello in person. My name's Robert.
Hey,
Okay, Robert, come on down. We're at 2766 Northeast MLK. Just about every Friday night. We're live at 8 to 9. So get on down here a little bit before 8 and you can meet us and have fun.
Do it. Yeah, now I kind of know how the feminists felt back in the 60s, though, when they finally took their bras and stuff off, huh?
Yeah. You got it.
Okay.
Free at last. That's what we're waiting for.
Well, thank you, Robert. We look forward to meeting you. Thanks for your call. Feel free to call back. And if you're out there and you have a question for us, you can call us at 503-288-4448. I guess we have a film clip. Is that clip ready to roll, guys? Yes. Okay, we're going to run a little film clip, and we'll be back here in just a moment. I hope you enjoy it. Okay. Well, you know what kind of plant that was. Wasn't that neat?
That was the goddess.
It's kind of the way it flips around and psychedelicizes, and somebody's been got some extra time with the video mixer. Well, that's good, though.
Yeah, it is good.
Adds a whole new visual element.
Right. Hey, and I want to remind our viewers that on May the 1st, we're going to be having an all-day event at the Capitol in the Galleria, and it's not the Rotunda, but right off of the Rotunda, you'll see the Galleria, and we'll be out there giving out information, celebrating the 10th anniversary of this great program.
The medical marijuana program went into effect
exactly.
May 1st of 1999.
Yes, 1999, and I'll never forget it because I became a patient in November of that year. I was number 500, and they said that there would probably be Dr. Grant Higginson said it would probably be about 500 people that signed up for the medical marijuana program. Well, we're exceeding 23,000 patients, so it's a great program.
Yes, it is.
And it's been really successful. And if we were any other program, I mean, anything but what they, and by they I mean law enforcement and some people on the right that think that this is immoral, as they say, it would be a complete success program. We're probably the gold star of state programs that are self-funded, because we've actually donated over $900,000 to the state, which makes the state a partner in marijuana fees as revenue.
For 10 years.
For 10 years.
Yes, it is.
And so I think that this is their last push at the legislature, and I think they're spent, actually, law enforcement and big business, because they're not going to take our program down, because I know nobody out there is going to let them. We're all going to go out there. We have the cool bus on hold in case we need to go out there and protest the next day in 24 hours. So I hope all of you will be prepared to go out there and picket with us if they even attempt to take down our program.
I will.
Really, seriously, because we should be afforded equal protection under the law. We are all taxpayers, and you know what? It's not a sin or a crime to be disabled. I'm assuming that none of our representatives would want to trade places with any of us that have a debilitating medical condition. Am I right? And I said this to them, and they didn't like it too much, but oh well.
Good point.
I don't like what they're doing to us either.
If you're out there and you have a question for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448.
You know, one of the issues that I see here is the fact that we have legally voted into this state this law, and by a majority of voters, and it's been in law now for 10 years. And every time a change comes about or a change is tried to be made through the legislative process or the Senate process, it's usually just by a small group of people who want to try and influence everybody else in the state with their ideas, whether they're good or bad ideas. They're putting them forth without much input from other activists in the state. And I think that this time in our legislative process, I find that the most disturbing part of it is that there are so many bills that have been put forth that really have not found a consensus among the rest of the groups in the state, and it's caused a real serious upswelling of activism, and I'm grateful for that in that regard, because I've seen now multiple times in the state legislature where all of the groups are unified against at least one thought or one subject or one bill, and that is such a rarity in these modern times. I've been an activist in the state for 20 years or more, and rarely do I see us all together on an issue. But this time, I've seen that issue consistently. We're together. We don't like some of the things that are being changed or are attempting to be changed, and they're being attempted by a small group of people trying to influence everybody else, and I find that disturbing. So I'm with you, Madeline. If and when the roll call comes up, I intend to have a placard in my hand marching too. It's very important. We've got to fight this.
We definitely do. And you know, on consensus, no one's ever going to come to consensus. There were a lot of people a few years ago when we passed 1085. People said, "Oh, it's horrible. 24 ounces. What, are you kidding me? We're better off with 4 ounces." I don't know.
It was 3.
Well, it was 3 and 1 on your person.
Yeah,
so,
that was restrictive.
3 at the grow site, 1 on your person. But nonetheless, we have 24 ounces now. I know 2 people that use the affirmative defense. We did give up the affirmative defense. And this was written, everybody thinks it was written by an advocacy group or by, this group or that group. It was written by Dr. Grant Higginson. We had a legislative advisory committee that went on for 2 years. Out of those 2 years, this is what Grant Higginson said. He sent it to me in the email. He sent it to all of us on the Legislative Advisory Committee, and I jumped on it. I said, what? 24 ounces of usable marijuana? Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner here, folks. And since the Department of Human Services actually drafted it, law enforcement walked out the very next day.
I remember that.
They were gone. And I said, if law enforcement walked away from this straw man that they called it, you remember that, Paul?
Sure.
It was scandalous. All the advocacy groups were upset. And I said, you know what? I don't care. If Oregon Normal has to stick their neck out and go out there and fight for 24 ounces, I'm a patient. And, there's a lot of people that are attorneys and this and that, but they're not patients. And when I run out of medicine, it's rough to go back on Vicodin or those horrible painkillers. I'm not doing it. I'd rather have 24 ounces. I don't need the affirmative defense personally because I have a card to protect me and I follow the guidelines.
And, 24 ounces has since been picked up by the state of Washington, too.
Yeah, that's right.
So their health department emulated Oregon's bill in making that the new limit. And that's the highest limit of any other state in the country. So
exactly.
We're happy with that.
So that's the history of 1085. For those of you who don't know it out there, after years, sometimes history is rewritten. And it doesn't matter who gets the credit. What matters is that it's the law now that you can have 24 ounces. And that's what's important, right?
That is true.
I think it's very important.
It looks like 2 states, what is it, New Hampshire and New Jersey now are on the cusp of legalizing medical marijuana. 1 chambers in both those states, they're standing up to be the 14th state. So right now, though, we have 13. And if anyone is out there that can't find a physician, then you think you or a loved one, a friend has a qualifying condition, we have doctors in 8 of those 13 states. We'd be happy to help you. Just give us a call. Our toll-free number for a clinic referral is 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. We have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hello, Paul.
Howdy.
I remember Paul and Dr. Rebecca, and I used to have to open doors for their patients to come in when other people would lock them, huh? That goes back to the West Side.
Okay. That would happen sometimes, I think, yeah.
And we talked about opening offices, and you managed to do one office, then two offices.
And now we're actually on the verge of seeing patients right now in 17 different cities in 8 states.
Paul,
but
I'm so
we'll be at 20 by the first week in May. We'll be in 20 different cities.
Paul, I'm so glad to know that you were there, and I was there to even be a little bug in your ear when I said even check with the TV in regards to getting it on TV. So it goes back a few years.
Certainly does.
And I was telling you to go over and see Bob there, who I just found out passed away.
Yeah, we miss Bob Hedlund, that's for sure.
Yes.
Well, I'm lovely to see that it's so different now than what it was 10 years ago when I was one of the, and I'm still a patient. But it's so different, but it's only 2 steps ahead.
Aha.
So we must keep going.
And we will.
Have a great evening.
Thanks for your call.
And it's true, Paul. You have had such a large, such a big player in making things move forward with all your offices and supporting patients and your compassion. I mean, I don't know where we'd be without you, really, seriously. I thank you every day because...
Thank you, folks.
No, sir, you are one of my heroes.
Right, and you are one of mine, too.
I've learned so much from you. But also, I want to remind people that Paul and I, we're working together, THCF and Oregon Normal, presenting the 10th Global Cannabis March. It used to be the Million Marijuana March. And it is on May the 2nd, after we're at the Capitol giving out cupcakes and celebrating the anniversary, the 10th anniversary of the OMA. Will be out the next day, Saturday, at Pioneer Courthouse Square. We'd like you all to get out there by 11:30 because we march at high noon.
So that's May 2nd.
Saturday,
May 2nd
right.
At Pioneer Courthouse Square. We'll have the Global Marijuana March. I like that name.
Yeah, I like it too.
Global Marijuana March. Previously, the Million Marijuana March.
Yes.
But it's at high noon.
It's at high noon. We have bands. We have vendors. Paul will be speaking. Hopefully, we'll
talk to.
Yeah, and the human and the Human Revolution will be there, and Chief Greenbud, who just won an award, and we'll have all that information and flyers very soon. If you're a vendor, if you're a craftsman, if you're a nonprofit, come out to our event. We'd love to have you there all day with us. It'll be fun, and once in a while it rains here, so we've got some cover for us.
Good.
Like last year, we've got some large canopies, and come on out and help us.
The sun's been shining on us the past few years,
yeah,
so we haven't had to march through the rain. And
I think Marquis and Franco and the Stingers might be showing up too.
Yeah,
right?
I know that Marquis is going to be there, and bands are confirming every day, so it's pretty exciting. So I don't know, you got to get a hold of Tim Pate or Carrie Strickland if you're interested in playing. I don't know how many bands we've got. Stickler, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
But anyway, if you can get in touch with us at ornorml.org and find out more about the Global Cannabis March with a full police escort. No dogs, no drugs, or alcohol. If you want to smoke and if you want to get high, stay home, because we want your body there and we want you to represent all of us and be socially acceptable. We're in Portland's living room, so we can't smoke.
Remember, you could lose your license anyway if you did.
Yeah, if you're smoking in public. So, yeah, that's the way we practice it there. And we love dogs. I have 4, but they leave little presents, and we don't want the city to have to pick them up.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're out there and you're an Oregon medical marijuana patient, we have classes every Wednesday night at 5:30 with the medicine man, the THCF gardener Andrew Hangenroot, and he'd be happy to teach you beginning, intermediate, or advanced gardening techniques and how to make medicinal grade hashish. So just come down to the THCF Medical Clinic offices at 105 Southeast 18th Avenue any Wednesday night at 5:30, and you can come into those classes. It's a great resource for patients who don't know how to get going.
We get a lot of calls about them, wanting to find out when they are, and saying that they learned a lot. Is this course 1? Is this course 2? I don't know. I'd call Andrew. But, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, it's a valuable resource, and
it really is.
Quite reasonable, too.
It's really hard to grow cannabis plants, you know. I remember when people just stuck them outside and they used to grow up pretty easy. Now it's getting a little sophisticated.
You know, it all depends. The strains help, but they need light, they need water, they need air.
Well, we're getting ready to put them out, though, aren't we? May soon? We should be putting them out.
It's almost time for the outdoor plants. That's true.
You've got some dates that you always say. I always try to tell people, but
late April. We're coming about a month from now, roughly a month.
Start them up.
Yeah,
get them ready.
They should be ready. We've got them growing under lights until then, so they're good size when we put them out. So they'll produce a little bit more. The larger a plant is, when it starts the flowering cycle, the more it's going to produce. So getting it as large and bushy as possible is a big part of a good yield.
And you know, this will be our 8th year doing the Oregon Medical Cannabis Awards as well.
I know, that'll be exciting.
So that's really exciting. You guys swept last year.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes this year.
THC Gardens, wow.
Yeah,
First,
Andrew Hangenrud, the medicine man, and we have our THF Medical Gardens, and we managed to I guess we just had a real good crop this year, and hopefully we'll do the same. Strains have a lot to do with it, but the care involved is another factor, you know.
It takes a lot of care for those plants and those dang mites.
They're not so bad outdoors, though, because they're predators outdoors. They can eat them. Inside, it's more difficult for them to...
Wow, they can be devastating.
They certainly can. They're so small, they travel anywhere. They just float in the air.
Of mites.
If you go down the Columbia River Gorge about August and look at the trees, you'll see huge mite infestations in some of those trees down there by the Columbia River. So the winds just whip them around everywhere.
I wonder if those were caused by outdoor grows.
I don't know. There's just no telling.
One year we had a plant outside and we wondered what happened because it got seeded. And we found that one of our neighbors was also growing it.
And he had some males, huh?
Yeah.
Well, you know, we're getting down in our time. We should probably get ready to wrap it up. We have the meeting tomorrow for Oregon medical card holders.
Yes.
That's at 11:30. They should be there.
The doors open at 11 a.m. People are there a little earlier, and you should have your OMMP card, your state ID, and you can join Oregon Normal at the door. You have to be a member to participate.
And the doors are locked at noon. So if you're there at noon, you're too late.
Exactly, except for Constance. We got Constance where she's a real needy patient who's going to come out tomorrow and meet us all, so we're excited about it.
All right, good. And then we have our classes, and I just want to urge your viewers out there to get involved in ending adult marijuana prohibition, restoring industrial hemp, and helping medical marijuana patients, which is what we're all about here at Oregon Normal and the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation. Hey, I want to thank you for watching. We're going to go out on a lovely tune by Mr. Tim Payton to help us restore hemp. Good night.